Wellness Show, episode 86.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyson Bannigan, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. And now we're on to part 2 with Dave Cowan, and we're talking about, well, many, many things, but really the evolution of consciousness and the new earth and its emergence, both inward and outwardly. So Dave, welcome back, and we're on part 2 of the show that has to do with getting our planetary shit together.
Exactly, or leaving it behind.
Or leaving it behind.
Where we left off was just a brief description of this time of no time, this breather that we have right now between primary time waves. The previous time wave was, you might say, an experience of linear time, where our experience was separated into unique or distinct patterns of past, present, and future. The new time wave, which is not yet upon us, could be thought of more as a vertical experience of time, a much more expanded, multi-dimensional sense of time, where time is at our command rather than us being a victim of time. And we can experience time in from many dimensional perspectives at will. So this is a much more expanded, open field of play, you might say. But in my work with clients, a pattern about 6 months started showing up where some of the folks were showing up with future attachments. And typically when I see that, and I'll measure what percentage of their attention is being pulled to the future, I would look at that in the past as a problem because we want to be fully present, be here now, right? But I recognized the pattern in these clients was that many of them were attached specifically to the year 2019. And the ratio of attachment was the same for everybody, 30%. And what I took from that was that we have, and the image that came to explain this is we've come around the racetrack now, and we're on the final run to the finish line. And for the first time, we can see the finish line. Oh my gosh, there it is, and I'm almost there. You know what? I don't want to be in this race. I want to be on the other end of it. I want to be in the completion of this. We can sense it. It's pulling us. The magnetic draw of this new time wave is getting stronger and stronger as the previous time wave is losing its strength and ability to affect us. So I'm just letting that be. If someone's energy wants to be in 2019, so be it. All the better. I mean, that's just going to help us manifest whatever it's bringing the closest, or more so. When I looked at the calculations, of course, 2012 to 2019 would be 7 years. And I don't know, there's something cosmological, there's something about that 7-year period, shows up in many of the ancient prophecies as being significant. I know in my own life, I've gone through 7-year phases. And so it's something I think that's consistent with that whole notion of 7 as a completion of some sort. But nevertheless, there are many other cycles that are completing right now. Not only this new time wave, which is almost upon us, but our solar system has had an experience it hasn't had for 60 million years, and that is the entire solar system has crossed the plane of the galaxy. And of course, that was the marker of 2012, was to formally recognize this plane of the galaxy transition from the top of the galaxy to the bottom of the galaxy. So if we think of the galactic plane as a disk, our solar system actually rotates around it in kind of like a warped record. Sometimes we're above the plane and other times we're below the plane. And in nature, we see that dualistic systems like planets, galaxies, etc., basically present positive and negative charges. So you could think that, say, the top half of the galaxy is positively charged and the bottom half is negatively charged, and that creates the balance of the form. Well, what we've done is by crossing the galactic plane, we have gone through a pole shift, not just of the magnetic field of the Earth, but of our entire existence. We have shifted from an energy, a positive energy, plus energy. Now, that doesn't mean positive in the good sense, but positive in in the yang sense, okay? We have passed from 60 million years of that yang influence into the yin side of the galaxy. And the yin side, of course, represents the openness and the spaciousness of the divine feminine. So all of these aspects are like symbols in a dream. And as Freud pointed out over 100 years ago, everything in a dream is a representation of you. So everything in our experience of this dream universe is a representation, or you could say a projection of us as co-creators. Another cycle that's completing now is what's called the galactic day. So it takes our solar system 225 million years to go from this point and go all the way around the galaxy and come back to the same point again. Now you could say that's significant at any point. At any point you're completing a circle. But what happened 225 million years ago? Well, that was the appearance of the dinosaurs on planet Earth. So from this perspective, from the completion of this galactic day, you could say we're completing the cycle of the lizard brain. We're completing the cycle of the dominance of that lizard consciousness, which is very much rooted in physicality, in domination, survival, and all of those types of core physical, physically based, and yet unexpanded levels of consciousness. Every one of us, according to psychologists, we have different levels of the brain, and the core level is still referred to as the lizard brain. It's where we experience or register core survival aspects such as domination, survival, fight or flight. These are all lizard brain functions. So symbolically, that's done. We're done with that energy. We've shifted to the other side of the galaxy. And again, that's just one of the convergences we're talking about now.
Well, that doesn't bode well for American politics, though.
Good. Well, isn't it interesting? And actually, my wife was making this observation yesterday, that America, as far as the rest of the world is concerned, for many decades was considered the epitome of collective human civilization. It was a place where anybody from anywhere could come and start over. And so there was much hope and much investment energetically in America's success from the very beginning. And yet look what it's become. It's fallen into the same pattern of domination and colonialism as its predecessors. It's just become another, but a much more impactful aspect. So the whole world's eyes are on America, and America is now symbolizing this polarity or polarization between the forces of fear and the forces of love. So I think it's no accident that this is going on in the form of the election now, and neither one, again, I'm not going to wax into opinion or anything, but neither one of the current candidates represent the forces of love. Something else is afoot. But all of this has to come to the surface. Just like in our personal lives, the traumas of the past, the schisms in our mind from the past, it has to be brought to the light of day to be transformed. If you don't observe something, it will not change. But as soon as it comes up for observation, and in this case, the entire world is watching, as soon as it comes up for observation, there is an inherent change in that process. This is quantum physics, right? The observer effect. So it's no accident that this is going on. And as a matter of fact, there's no accident that anything's going on. And I'm just tickled pink to be here in the midst of all of this. What an opportunity. What a privilege to not only be here, but to begin to get an inkling of what actually is transpiring.
So it seems like that America is representing the collective unconsciousness, or the trauma of being in the prison is being really being reflected and shown to us. You know, the shadow part coming forward through the election process. So, you know, I you could help fast forward because yours is a story of that we've made it, that we're going to graduate, that we are in the birth canal, that it's inevitably we're going to be birthed. And you're talking about 2019 as somewhere down the road. So what sort of things can we hope for, expect as we go into this more divine feminine aspect? How do you see this maybe playing out? Part of it, as I'm sure we'll get to meet our galactic neighbors, would be part of that, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. We've been quarantined for bad behavior by our galactic neighbors, but it's time to bring us into the community. And if we clean up our backyard, we might actually get to join the community. Is what's happening on that level. But again, there has to be, creation. Let me reframe this. Chaos is a critical component of creation.
Absolutely.
In order for something new to emerge, the old, the unchangeable, the fixed, it has to be taken down in order for something. It's just like a plant breaking through the hard surface of the earth in order to reach the sun. It just has to happen. So we're seeing that now. We're seeing the dissolution of the limits of the past of prison planet, as we mentioned earlier. And in the primary area where this is being dissolved is in the area of economics. I was reading the other day, I think it was from Corey Good's material, that advanced civilizations have no concept of money. They have no concept of an outside measurement of value or exchange. It's something that only primitive planets even experience. And it is the one area where this control paradigm has infected the entire world. No matter where you live, you owe somebody something. If you've got a credit card, if you've got bills to pay, you are part of the tentacles of this global economic control system that is based entirely on the supposition that this money has any kind of value and that your life depends upon it. This is to me, this is the symbolic representation of the end of the old, is the breakdown of the global financial system. And we are witnessing this live today, every day. If you follow, especially if you follow alternative news channels, YouTube has got a lot of good ones. You can see that the old system, it's going down, it's leaking left and right. And the folks that have been the captain of that ship are pretty well abandoning ship. So its days are done, and there's a high degree of recognition on a systemic level. There's already a new economy in the wings waiting to take center stage. It's been forming up now for quite a few decades, and actually has been the intention, apparently, of families for many generations who have recognized that it's their destiny to be part of this reset. So we are anticipating the end of a global debt slavery system, which some have identified as having its beginnings in Babylon. They call it the Babylonian money magic system, where the leaders of that culture realized that they could enslave populations much more effectively through debt than they could with chains and prisons. But every time you go into debt, you are a servant to the lender. You have sold your future energy. You've sold your labor that you haven't even done yet to somebody else who will hold you responsible for that. So it's a very enslaving system that, again, because we're in the middle of it, we seem to take it for granted. It almost seems normal until, of course, you realize that all of the stress. I mean, think of the stress that people go through just because they can't make the rent, just because they can't buy groceries or pay their bills. This is common stress around the world. So this is to me very encouraging to see that system coming down. Once that does, and we're back on a much more equitable system, because this planet is rich in resources. It's just been sequestered by this system. But once it goes down, we are looking at a planet where all of the currencies are asset-backed and all within 5% value of each other. These are the new rules that have already been written for the global economy, that no currency can lord its value over another, that all economies will come into 5% parity with each other, and that all of the currencies used in this interim period towards zero money, really, but all the currencies used will be backed by tangible assets and will be honored and valued around the world. This means the end of the domination of the of the global reserve currencies that have again been used to practically enslave every culture on this planet. So it's, to me, that's the pretty clear indication that we're in the change. And again, this is all happening on the mental. It's all happening on the fourth dimension.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our ideas about value, our ideas about labor and worth and all of that are what is being rocked now. And the changes in the global economy are just the 3D manifestation of that. Again, the more we absorb these change opportunities in our thoughts, beliefs, and understandings, the less Mother Earth has to take that energy on in the form of catastrophes. Another perspective on this is that if we consider the idea of a third dimensional planet going into the fifth, which is pretty well assumed as what's going on here, the fourth dimension lies between those, right? Mm. And so ultimately, it has to be absorbed into the fifth. There will be no more dualistic fourth dimension. In other words, it'll be impossible to have a fearful or negative or guilt-based thought in the fifth dimension.
Then what am I going to do?
Celebrate, play, enjoy, have a good time. Have one on me. No, it's going to be a shock. You know, it's kind of like, it's like you've spent your whole life with some kind of static in the air. Mm. And you got so used to it, it actually became kind of a comfort. Who would I be without this static? And then one day, it's gone. What just happened? What is this new thing? I think it's called clarity. I think it's called freedom. Oh my gosh. Right? So yeah, it's going to be a shocker. And again, there's going to be some who are going to look around. Where'd the static go? I need it. Who am I without the static? Right? So this is why we're talking about, again, we discussed on the last program how Earth has been a repository for civilizations of other planets that went 5D that needed to continue in 3D. Well, there's going to be a portion of the global population who are not ready to receive the full benefit of this transition and who will through their own free will choose to continue to experience a third density planet. And those are the ones that will be sent to another planet this time, because this is Earth's time. So there will be a shift. And, you know, the law of one actually calls it the harvest, which I believe was also a term used in the book of Matthew, attributed to Jesus. So there may be some shocks. There may be some, you know, some radical changes in our relationships, in our communities. But again, it's a natural process. It's a developmental shift. It is something that others have gone through and others will go through, and now is our turn. We're being given an opportunity and challenge to grow up as a species. Years ago, Peter Russell wrote a book in the 80s called The Global Brain Awakens. And in that, he said that we are on the cusp of connecting, and he was also looking at how technology is helping support this, right? The internet and all of this is a symbol of our growing connectivity. But in that book, I saw something that really struck me, because for the longest time, and I still do, I see the numbers 1010, just like a lot of people are drawn to 1111. Well, for me, it was 1010, and still is. Every once in a while, I just look, oh my gosh, 1010. And I was never sure as to the message in that. Although I did recognize that 1010 did represent a balancing of 911, and 911, of course, represents the energy of fear, right? But in The Global Brain That Awakens, Peter Russell mentioned a calculation that neurologists know about. They said that in every nerve cell, there are 10 to the 10th power molecules, give or take, right? And that in every brain, human brain, there's 10 to the 10th power neurons or nerve cells. And on planet Earth now, we are quickly approaching 10 to the 10th power people. So when the population gets to a certain critical mass as containers for this light, as conscious co-creators of a new reality, what he's predicting is that this global brain, through resonance with the molecular, cellular, and now on the global level, will simply activate into a unity consciousness, or the realization that there's only one of us here. This event has been described historically as the second coming of Christ, as the beginning of the Golden Age, as the reappearance of the Maitreya. Call it what you will. It's a spiritual activation of a singular being as the primary inhabitant of planet Earth, no longer separated by the belief that bodies separate us. However, more recognition, because bodies are 3D, recognition that on the mental plane, we are all connected, that minds are joined intimately as aspects of a single mind. This is pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
I did have a future dream, and we were told that you could do, past life or you could do a future life. So I opted for a future one in which, and I don't say this, well, anyway, I was part of the delegation that was presenting the credentials of planet Earth to the Intergalactic Federation because we had achieved a world peace.
Yes.
So
Beautiful.
Well, some part of me, not that I need to be part of that, but some was a real indication that we can and we will graduate, that this is a doable, that we are on a doable, inevitable path of success. It's not as though we can crawl back through the womb and say, hey, I'm not going to do this. It's not my time. It's a foregone conclusion. We're about to be birthed. So that to me is really quite exciting. So yeah, we have some more squeezing, some more, maybe some bumps, some, why am I here? Or for some people, some chaos, but ultimately we're going to maybe be able to make this through. So how do you see the time frame on this? I mean, I know there is no time and we're part of the divine flow, but do you have a sense of how this is all coming about?
Yeah, I do. And I think actually the remainder of this year is going to be very recognized as very pivotal. I think the remainder of this year, we are actually going to see the demise of the former Babylonian money magic system and its replacement with a global equitable system. I think that's probably transpiring before the end of the year. That's my sense. Just from reading the indications and hearing the reports. But the 2019 could very well be, there's still going to be some cleanup, obviously. And one of the intentions of this global reset is to release the funds that have formerly been dried up and wasted in military spending and all of this, to actually help to reconstruct and to deconstruct the damage of the past. I mean, there's much, much repair work that needs to be done on this planet. The ravages of war, have destroyed entire nations' economic foundation. I was just reading recently that still in Vietnam, hundreds of children every month lose limbs because of leftover mines in the ground. I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, we have got a big job to clean up this mess. So I think that's going to be the short-term focus, but it's going to be assisted and aided. It's not entirely up to us to do this now. Because of our willingness to move forward, we're going to be given the benefit of technologies that have been suppressed, some of this ET technologies. So we're going to be given the tools. Once we have the will, we're going to be given the tools to actually carry this out much more quickly than it might seem, or we might assume based on just current technologies. But it's going to be an exciting period. Everyone's going to have a job because there's a lot to do. And everyone's going to be taken care of. We're going to be freed from that, from the survival, that lizard brain survival dominance we've been played for so long. We're going to be freed from that. And not only will this give every one of us a sense of purpose and contribution to the global community, but it's also going to free us up to spend time doing what we love, to spend time with our families, to spend time pursuing the inner work. And that really is the key, I think, to the successful navigation of this time, is to take time to go within and to make that flip, that conscious decision that I'm not a victim of the world I see, that what I'm seeing is the projection of my own expectations and thoughts. And that if I really want to participate in this change, I'm going to go within and get to the roots of those thoughts, ideas, and beliefs, clean them out, That's where the real cleanup is in our own minds. The cleanup of the world will simply be the outer expression of that inner work. But I call this turning point flipping in. Instead of flipping out, looking for solutions outside of ourselves, we flip in and go, oh my gosh, all I'm experiencing is myself. So if I want to change anything out here, I have to change it in here first. And that sense of responsibility, that sense of, okay, I'm responsible for my experience. I release the world from my projections of blame and guilt and pain and suffering. And I begin to see everyone else with the same freedom. Yeah, you can continue in that experience. You can continue pretending that I'm your problem. That's okay. Because now that I know that I'm not my problem and that I am capable of changing my world from within, I see the same potential in you. So I let you have your experience. I'm not going to chain you to my understanding of you. I'm going to give you freedom. And freedom is another name for love.
I love that. We have 5 more minutes to go. But, it seems to me that you've been working on this. This is sort of like if you had time to write yet another book, here's another book that's in the process of being birthed. We're the precursor of doing this on the Wellness Show. And maybe by the time the book is actually written, and who knows, maybe you already started it, we're going to be in the midst of probably hopefully experiencing this. But that being said, it is a good news story. It's exciting. It's fulfilling prophecy right here, right now, in this incarnation. We're talking about full body enlightenment right here, right now, and this lifetime. It really is, like you say, it's a great time to be on planet Earth, and we chose well. At least that's how I see it.
Yes, indeed. As do I. And again, there are no accidents. I think one of the reasons there's 7 billion plus of us here on the planet now is that many souls want to be here. It's like it's the Super Bowl of the galaxy, right? Everybody wants to be in the front row. Everybody wants to be present. And so we're seeing a great influx of UFO contacts, and we're seeing a great, how can I say, degree of connection and positivity, especially in the millennials. They're the ones that are going to have to inherit this world and are going to have to shoulder a lot of the responsibilities for this cleanup and the creation of a new society. And, just as an aside, our son who lives here in Boulder, he's quite the music fan, and he took us to a concert out at Red Rocks, which is a beautiful place to see live music. And it was of a local group that was kind of in the Grateful Dead sort of groove. And anyway, what I saw was this group of, I'd say, anywhere from 25 to 35-year-olds. There were thousands of them. And, we were the kind of the old fogies hanging out with the kids. But what I saw, it was so impactful. I saw the best part of the 60s, the brotherhood, the respect, the joining. I saw that in that generation. I mean, they were all standing together, thousands of them, and singing the lyrics of the songs. And they'd have conversations where they called each other brother. And there was a whole lot of hugs going on. I'm going, oh my gosh, this is the next flower power generation. These are the ones that are saying, if we're going to create a new world, it's going to start with us. Anyway, I was very encouraged to see that. I wasn't even aware of that segment of our culture. But those are the ones who stood up behind Bernie, right? Those are the ones who realize that debt slavery is not their future, and they don't want any part of that. So I'm very encouraged to see that coming forward. And I guess in retrospect, not surprised. But it's nice to know that people are waking up to this sense of unity, that there's only one of us here, and that our separations and divisions and differences have been used against us to keep us enslaved. And the shell is breaking, and here we are.
We've got 1 more minute to go. It seems to me that a lot of what we've been preparing for, and certainly the flower power, I thought it was going to happen tomorrow or the next day or maybe a month from now. So I've been looking for that finish line that we've been talking about. Yeah. Thank God it's appearing on the horizons as we come around to see it, and that finish line is just in front of us. But it seems to me that part of this is community, that we need to do this as a community. And I really find the courses that you provide, you and your partner provide that opportunity and community to do some of this deeper work. So in this last minute, could you tell people how they can get hold of you and what sort of ways that you offer the community so people can learn some of these skills?
Certainly. And thanks for that opportunity. If folks want to visit us at bluesunenergetics.net, you can check in some of the programs we have, some of the classes we do online, and we just did a live class here in Boulder where we teach a specific healing technique using pendulum dowsing. And we also engage with folks around the world now through Skype, thankfully, with personal sessions. And many people are finding that, what they've tried in the past and all these different healing modalities hasn't really gotten to the heart of the issue. So we help folks to find out within themselves, what are the deeper level of causes of their problems, their situations within their own minds? Where does their power lie to change their minds about that situation? So, we invite folks to come in on and check out the live sessions as well as our classes. And of course, there are 3 published books now that are behind this work, which are all available on Amazon.ca as well as .com. So these are some of the ways that we're helping folks recognize that they're not alone in this, and that we're all here to help each other. No one is here to do it on our own. That's been the lie, that you're all on your own and separate, and it's all up to you. I think people are finding out that the support is there if they're willing to simply ask for it. What we don't ask for, of course, we don't receive. So, yeah, I encourage folks to come by and visit the website and then contact us if they have any questions about any of that work.
David, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show again, and we'll catch up with you yet again, I'm sure.
Indeed. Much love your way to you and yours. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.